What's up, you freak?
Anti-worm, what are you doing here?
If you want to see your silly little Switch again, you have to play my game. I need you to review Twisted Metal Small Brawl.
Just so happens I haven't owned a copy of this myself. Well, I'll play.
This time, I shall succeed in breaking you.
Hey everyone, Dr. Arthur Robotnik here. Last time we took a look at the dark, depressing world of Twisted Metal Black. However, Sony still felt like there was a little bit of extra life left in the PS1, so Incognito had a smaller team work on Twisted Metal Small Brawl, which, curiously, is a kid-friendly version of Twisted Metal. After the darkest entry in the series, we have arguably the lightest. This can either be one of two things. Either this game is going to be really bad, or it could be a hidden gem. Let's go take a look. Twisted Metal Small Brawl is probably the most enigmatic entry in the franchise, as for many fans, this game just sort of happened. Like, again, the game that preceded this was the darkest entry in the series with a hard-earned M rating, so a family-friendly spin-off seemed kinda bonkers. I mean, the idea child versions of existing characters have existed before, as seen by the multitude of these, but they're usually for franchises that were mostly family-friendly, like the Muppets. Not for something like Twisted Metal! As Apocalypso said, who the hell asked for this? As it turns out, this game was actually meant to be more subversive early on. Under the direction of David Jaffe, it was supposed to appear child-friendly, but beneath the Saturday morning cartoon exterior, it was supposed to contain the usual twisted atmosphere, alongside a gratuitous amount of shocking adult humor, essentially in line with stuff like Conker's Bad Fur Day or South Park. However, after the completion of Twisted Metal Black, David Jaffe wanted to go to Santa Monica Studios to work on a pet project he wanted to do for some time, God of War. And the rest of the team were still polishing up Twisted Metal Black, so this game was handed off to a B team within Incognito. Originally set for release on the PS2, this was changed to a PS1 release with a holiday release as one last cash grab before the PS1 fully lost its steam. If this sounds crazy, it was still common for game studios to release PS1 games, as these games right here can attest, as not everyone had probably upgraded to the PS2. It also helped that the PS2 is backwards compatible, so PS2 owners can still get some PS1 action if they so desire. The game was released on November 26, 2001 in North America and received middling reviews from critics, and was the first Twisted Metal to not receive a Greatest Hits release, indicating that this game did not sell very well either. Most Twisted Metal fans are typically polarized on this entry, as some fans hate this game with a fiery passion, and other fans consider this a hidden gem with no universal consensus. I personally recall renting this game a lot back from Hollywood Video way back when I was a kid, and I remember enjoying this game a lot when I finally got a copy in 2013, but admittedly, I don't go back to this entry too often. So, we should go see how this game holds up. My memory is a little vague after all. The story for this entry is admittedly chuckle-worthy. As this is Twisted Metal Babies, the contestants are reimagined as kids, so we have stuff like Sweet Tooth as a prankster instead of a serial killer, and Mr. Grimm as a boy obsessed with Halloween instead of the Grim Reaper or a cannibalistic veteran. So, for this, how would you reimagine Calypso for a child-oriented spin-off? You make him a schoolyard bully that takes everyone's lunch money, of course. So anyways, Terrence from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends here gathers the neighborhood kids and has them compete in a Twisted Metal tournament by using RC cars of their choosing, and he'll grant them a wish should they win. What, did this kid also go to hell and steal Minions' powers too? Anyways, our contestants are Crimson Fury is piloted by a child version of Agent Stone, who enters the tournament hoping to take down Calypso for his bullying ways. Hammerhead is a teenager that loves rock and roll, and desires nothing more than to be a real rock star, and Calypso is the man that can make it happen. Mr. Grimm is an overzealous boy obsessed with Halloween, and if he wins the tournament, Calypso could show him the portal to Halloween Land, a land that is Halloween every day of the year. Slam is the oldest of the contestants, and he's here for revenge as Calypso destroyed his treehouse. Outlaw is piloted by a child version of Carl Roberts, who in the tournament is aiming to arrest Calypso. Shadow Hero is piloted by a reimagined Mortimer Sharf, who in this game is more of a nerdy boy than an undead caretaker of souls. He enters the tournament as Calypso stole his pet frog. Spectre enters the tournament hoping to find what happened to his missing father. Needles Kane here is back as Sweet Tooth, and he enters the tournament hoping for a little ice cream. Here, unlike 3, it's forgivable as he's a child, and he's also the youngest contestant. It makes sense he's going to want some ice cream. Thumper is piloted by Vinny and Bruce here, as they seek to find the ultimate sound system. Twister is a girl that likes going fast, and Calypso promises her the ultimate thrill ride if she wins. Warthog is a child that has finally had it with Calypso's bullying, and he decides to enter the tournament hoping to get even. We also have unlockable characters, but they lack story. Darkseid here is piloted by Mr. Ash, but no one knows why he's here. Mime is piloted by a kid that loves mimicking the other kids, especially when it pisses them off, and Axel's here to show his prowess with two-wheeled car combat. Since this game is RC car combat, a lot of the levels here are just everyday locations reimagined for battle, so the tournament will take you through the neighborhood playground, a carnival funhouse named the Cardo Mall, an island kitchen, a mini golf course, a meat locker, a high school football stadium, a treehouse for the typical rooftop level, and finally a movie theater. You also get a Halloween party, a bowling alley, and a Christmas living room for deathmatch exclusive levels. Halfway through the tournament at the mini golf course, you come face to face with Trapper, who takes the place as Minion as the sub-boss, and I can presume he may be one of Calypso's cohorts because this guy just shows up and has no story, and at the end of the tournament, you fight Piecemeal. And he apparently lurked throughout the tournament, making his RC car out of the destroyed contestants with this Frankenstein's monster of a machine. Once Piecemeal is defeated, you meet face to face with Sid from Toy Story to get your prize. Due to the more comical nature of this game, a lot of the endings actually feature bad outcomes for Calypso. If you feel that he got off too easy, I think these endings shall satisfy you. A few of the endings also still retain the typical be careful what you wish for stick of the series as well, which isn't too bad.
Okay, Hammerhead, you really want to be a rock star, huh? Totally, dude. You asked for it, headbanger. Huh?
Son of a bitch! No!
All in all, most of these endings are pretty funny. A favorite of mine is Sweet Tooth's.
Oh man, you could have had anything you wanted, and all you could think of is a little ice cream? Let me down! Stop the car! Look up, old lady!
And if you still think he got off too easy, here's Mr. Slab's ending.
What are you gonna do with that, dirt boy? Nothing, dirt boy. Okay, I can live with this. Oh, man.
One complaint I do have about this game is that none of the secret characters have any endings at all, but one of them kinda does. And that would be Axel. Now, we all know the main series, and in Black, Axel's a guy that's attached to two wheels, so what would be the child version of that? A kid in a wheelchair, obviously. And if you notice the intro, you'll see Calypso kick a kid in the wheelchair down a hill. This was Axel's pilot, and he had an ending planned, but it was cut at the very last minute for obvious reasons as seen here.
Hey up, Calypso! You said you could make me walk! Alright. Keep your shorts on. So, how do I make him go? You don't. Whoa! I love yard work.
Yeah, I'm not surprised this got cut, as I can see this starting a firestorm of controversy. The presentation of this game is where the game starts to get a little murky. For a late 2001 game, the graphics look kinda unpolished. I know this is the PS1, but I can't help but shake the feeling that 2 and 4 look way better. However, the frame rate mostly feels more stable than 1 and 2, but I do see a few moments where it does dip, but it's usually when a lot of stuff happens. The cutscenes are in CGI again, but they actually look pretty decent for the most part. Especially for PS1 FMVs, which aren't too bad. As mid as the graphics are, I do like that all the weapons are like fireworks or everyday toys, like the napalms are little doll heads, which is a neat touch. And the music is really fucking good, and it returns the rock and roll of Twisted Metal, and it's really, really solid. I'd even argue this as my favorite soundtrack of the series, and we even get some sick remixes of past songs like Cyber Slide and Moscow's theme in this game. Now, onto the gameplay. This is probably going to be where my review will be controversial depending on who is watching this. It's your typical Twisted Metal where you must find and destroy every contestant. However, in this game you only fight 2 to 5 opponents per stage, which makes everything a lot more manageable. The game is primarily based on 2's engine, though I would argue it feels a little slower. And if you were to ask me, I feel that 2's engine's a lot more solid, but this game's control is passable. Though I must mention that there is a weird glitch where sometimes the controls will randomly invert for a second. Our new weapons for this game are the Roman candles, which are like napalms, but they stack like crazy, they can fire in numbers, and they can ricochet off walls, which makes them fairly useful. They're not too bad to use, really. And I also must say that the special weapons of this game feel very fun to use, and I would argue there is no bad special weapon in this game, as they all have decent utility, which is awesome. The level design isn't too bad either and feels pretty creative with the arenas. The only level that feels kind of weak is Gridiron Gore, which is just a flat stadium, but it's only one weak level out of 11 levels, and it's not too big of a deal as it's also a football field, so it's, understandable. As far as the difficulty goes, this is an entry that has a pretty fair difficulty curve, where it never really feels too hard to get through at all, which makes sense. This game was, after all, kind of intended for children, sort of. The only real hard parts I felt during my playthrough were the boss fights with Trapper and Piecemeal, but considering that they're boss fights, I expect some challenge. Trapper is the best armor in the game, and he has a special attack that's the monkey in a barrel, where if it hits anything, it multiplies until there's a shit ton of monkeys on the battleground so the weapon wears out. To make matters even harder, the arena is also reduced in half significantly to increase the challenge. However, Trapper's more of a skill gate than an annoyingly difficult boss, as if you know what you're doing, he doesn't feel cheap. All it takes to beat him is knowledge of your abilities and some basic survival instincts, and you can beat him. And as far as the final boss, we have a unique situation with him. For the final battleground, you have 4 opponents to destroy, which is typical, but once you destroy one, they all disappear and Piecemeal comes out to play. Piecemeal is the second boss in the series and has the special weapons of every other contestant, though due to a glitch, he cannot access Sweet Tooth's special at all. When you reduce his health to 75% though, Piecemeal then retreats and you have to fight the regular opponents again. So once you rinse and repeat, you can defeat Piecemeal eventually. However, I must say that this fight is a little trickier due to the fact that now Slaying barely has any weapons, and the weapon spawn is a little longer here if I recall correctly. So you may have a drought of weapons to fight Piecemeal. Outside of that, the fight doesn't feel that cheap, and I'd argue he's much easier than Trapper to beat. Once you beat the game with everyone, you unlock Trapper. If you beat the game on Trapper with hard, you unlock Piecemeal, and they actually are balanced for regular play, which is surprising. Once a single player is giving you your fill, you got the multiplayer to play as always, which isn't too bad. Now, on to my thoughts on the game. I personally enjoy this game, honestly. It's definitely flawed, as the controls feel like a bootleg version of 2, but they feel miles better than Twisted Metal 3. The difficulty's a little easy, but I personally prefer a game that's too easy than one that's too hard. Though a game should have proper challenge, which I feel like this game does fine, honestly. And again, this game was retooled for kids, so I'm not expecting Twisted Metal Black's difficulty. And while the graphics are a little weak, the graphics aren't everything, and the gameplay helps out a lot. It's a flawed game, and it's definitely not on par with 1 and 2, but this game's inoffensive enough not to get worked up over. The game's only real crimes that had a follow-up, Twisted Metal Black, which had massive acclaim and was a tough act to follow. As a result, my score for this game is a 7 out of 10. Yeah, this game ain't too bad, honestly. I personally feel like a lot of critics unfairly treated this game, honestly, because it came out after Black, which, to be fair, is a very tough act to follow, but I think they were a little unfair to this game, considering it's on the PS1, and these critics still held 2 as the best. But this game feels like 2. Granted, it's not as good as 2, but honestly, I had some fun with this for what it's worth. Good to be back.
So, play Small Brawl already?
Yes, I did.
Haha! You shall be broken!
I actually like the game, dipshit.
Yes, I mean... Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, the game isn't that bad.
We'll meet again! But for now, you can have your Switch back. I am a man of my word.
We got this back now. Anyways, you think that after Small Brawl, they would immediately start to focus on making a sequel to Twisted Metal Black, considering how massive of a commercial success that was alongside a critical success. But it really turned out to be far from that simple. Shortly after Small Brawl, both main heads of Twisted Metal went to go do different things as they were briefly burnt out of the series. David Jeffy went to Santa Monica Studios to work on the 2005 mega hit God of War, and Scott Campbell stayed with Incognito to work on smaller games like Kinetica, Downhill Domination, and the criminally overlooked masterpiece War of the Monsters. After War of the Monsters was completed, Incognito decided to get to work on a new Twisted Metal game. In this case, it was a sequel to Twisted Metal Black. Titled Twisted Metal Harbor City, this one was set to be a much more ambitious undertaking. Instead of going level to level, this game was going to have one giant world interconnected by highways to have a sandbox Twisted Metal, where after completing one arena, you travel on the highway to the next in real time. It was also going to have on-foot missions for both Sweet Tooth and the Preacher as well. However, during production, this game was mysteriously cancelled, the main reason given in Twisted Metal Lost, which we'll discuss in a bit, that 6 key figures were killed in a plane crash, but that is officially a hoax that was added in the game to give it an air of mystery. Personally, the whole backstory they invented for the game just sounds like some really bad 2010 creepypasta bullshit. Jeffy was called out on this as many people felt this was in poor taste, but I'm not surprised, as David Jeffy has not been known for good decisions, as we can see here.
Why would I know that? Why would I ever have known to do that? That's some bullshit right there. Why would anyone know to do that? What utter bullshit. Okay, that's... You know, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sick of reviewers. It's a 10, it's a 9, game of the year. You literally cannot... Why would you know? Oh my god, that's bad. How does that get past people?
Lately, however, we've had some builds of the prototype leak onto the internet, which is pretty cool. It's not to say that this was entirely a waste, however, as the project was retooled for Sony's upcoming handheld, the PSP. Sony needed some major killer apps out at launch, and the launch lineup was already looking pretty solid, but Incognito would oblige with Twisted Metal Head-On, a return to the original continuity. This game's existence taunted me for years, as I don't own a PSP. I distinctly remember having memories of putting this on my Christmas list several times hoping to get this and a PSP. Many PSP exclusives were eventually ported to the PS2 due to pretty much low software sales of PSP games, and due to very high piracy rates on the PSP. So, hey, to ensure that these games could actually start making some money, they figured why not port it to the PS2 or PS3. However, some of these ports were not very good. One exception to that rule is Twisted Metal Head-On Extra Twisted Edition, which was overseen by the actual team, now rebranded as Eat Sleep Play, and David Jaffe was back at the helm. I have an interesting history with this, as I remember when this came out, my friend invited me to his birthday party. However, this guy wasn't really as much of a friend out of genuine friendship, but rather the kind of guy that hung out with me because of the video games I had as a kid. And I had noticed that he had stolen a few of my games. So, when I noticed that his birthday party happened to coincide with the launch of this game, I don't think it takes a genius to know what happened that day. Yes, I was still mad about those thefts. I had a nearly completed copy of Pokemon Ruby, and he stole it. If you're watching this, fuck you. I'm still mad about that to this day. Fuck you. I swear this is a running theme here, but I really can't find too much development history on the original PSP version, but for the PS2 version, unlike many of the PSP to PS2 ports, this one was handled internally by the main team, with Jaffe at the helm once again as he had completed his supervision of the first two God of Wars. Unlike most of the other ports as well, this one set out to be the extra definitive version by including an assload of extra content for fans, including a behind-the-scenes documentary, the cut endings of Twisted Metal 1, released to the public for the first time, an extra level for Head-On that's set in Transylvania, and to fully put the cherry on top, whatever was finished of the scrapped Twisted Metal Black sequel as its own miniature game called Twisted Metal Lost, with the Sweet Tooth segments retooled as Sweet Tour where you can earn factoids of the Twisted Metal series. Now this is a fucking port. Now onto the story. Head-On is actually made to be the true sequel to Twisted Metal 2, which makes this game great by default as it removes that piece of shit Twisted Metal 3 from canon. Other than that, it's the same old shit as always. Calypso holds tournament, something something car combat, wish granted. Our contestants are as follows. Marcus Kane returns as Roadkill's driver. He seeks to end the nightmare, so little does he know that he's the split personality of the insane serial killer, Needles Kane. Mortimer Sharf returns as Shadow's driver. After failing to apprehend Calypso in 2, he returns to his slumber until he was prematurely awoken by a bunch of drunken hooligans that dug up his grave. Now unable to return to sleep, all he desires is a peaceful rest. Mr. Grimm returns, and this time his addiction to souls has taken such a massive toll on him that he no longer wishes to be the Grim Reaper anymore, so he wishes to pass the job on to someone else and live a normal life. Needles Kane is back at Sweet Tooth once more. He has grown discontent with competing in the tournament and wishes to run the damn thing himself. Angel is the new driver of Thumper. She seeks to make her lowrider the ultimate ride ever. Chucky Floop is this year's driver of Spectre. He won the spot of the tournament in a radio call-in show and is currently wondering what to wish for. Miranda Watts, the sister of Amanda, is the new driver of Twister. She enters the tournament to find out what happened to her sister, who competed in the Twisted Metal tournament prior. Carl and Jamie Roberts return to pilot Outlaw once more. While Jamie hopes to merely end the tournament, she has little idea that her brother intends on killing Calypso if he gets the chance. Krista Sparks returns as Grasshopper's driver. For those that don't know at this point, she's actually Calypso's daughter. 13 years prior to this game, she and Calypso were victims of a car crash. Calypso was able to escape hell by stealing the powers of Minion, but he was unable to fully resurrect his family. He summons Krista's spirit, where in order for her to be fully resurrected, she has to win the tournament. Colonel Hall is the pilot of Warthog. He's wanting a weapon that can help him eradicate all the evildoers of the world. Axel returns in this game. After the events of Twisted Metal 2, Axel quickly realized that while having freedom was nice, he found that not having arms sucked. So he got some spiffy robot arms from a scientist. Though in exchange, he has to enter the tournament and give his prize to the doctor. Simon Whittlebone returns from the grave to pilot Mr. Slam. He was able to begin construction of Whittlebone Tower, but his ego got the better of him, so he foolishly climbed to the top of the tower to declare his godhood. But pride comes before a fall, and what a fall it was. He enters the tournament hoping to become reborn so he can finish his tower. Agent Shepard is the new driver of Crimson Fury. Working for the FBI, he enters the tournament to arrest Calypso for good. Catfish is the new driver of Hammerhead, a man priding himself on being the greatest hunter. He wants to hunt the most dangerous game itself, humans. Gene Ruddish is a man piloting an ATV. He enters the tournament to become the ultimate ladies' man. Cousin Eddie is this game's mid-boss. However, he's merely an uninvited guest in the tournament, as he stumbled upon the tournament and thought it looked fun. If there's one thing I can give this guy, he's probably smarter than this fuckhead. Darktooth returns, but this time he's piloted by the fused mind of Needles and Marcus, creating an unholy force with the sanity of Marcus and the destructive potential of Needles. Throughout the tournament, they will fight at Big Blue Stadium, a movie studio in LA, Paris where the Eiffel Tower can be knocked over again, a series of tombs in Egypt, then back to LA for a battle with Cousin Eddie, the Colosseum in Rome, the streets of Moscow, the coast of Greece, Ares! The racetracks of Monaco, an abandoned castle in Transylvania if you're playing the PS2 version, then the streets of Tokyo, then its rooftops, then finally a battle with Darktooth, and finally, the behemoth known as Towertooth. When Towertooth is defeated, your character meets with Calypso to collect their prize. They return to the comic book art style, which is pretty cool, and as always, Calypso will be a dick to most of the contestants and twist their wish. But they're still entertaining nonetheless. The Sweet Tooth ending is awesome.
We've been doing this a long time, haven't we? You hold a twisted metal, I kill and destroy for you. I make a wish, you continue to sit on your throne, surrounded by your guards and women. I think you've had enough fun for a while.
Nobody makes you compete, Needles.
Right, of course not. Not at all.
Make your wish and claim your prize already. I have things to do that don't involve you.
Okay, pal of mine. I wish that you become me, and I become you.
Are you insane? I won't grant that wish.
I don't think you have a choice, Sunshine.
You see, what I say goes. This is impossible. Guards, kill the intruder!
Ooh, good idea. Do that.
If I recall correctly, this was the first ending I got, and it was cool. Now onto the presentation. The graphics for a late PS2 release are pretty alright. Some areas look a little rough, but as this is an upscaled PSP game, it can be forgiven. The menu looks pretty slick, and the music's alright, but nowhere near as memorable as the prior games. The opening cutscene is amazing though, with an awesome cell shading effect, and it just gets you really hyped to play. For the endings, the motion comics returned for the endings, but I would say they were done much better in Twisted Metal 2, but they're still cool to see here. The voice acting is also excellent in this game as well. While we sadly don't have Mel McMurrin as Calypso, David Boat does a decent job as Calypso, honestly. Now for the gameplay. It's your basic Twisted Metal setup, kill everyone you meet, though there have been a few additions. As far as new weapons go, the only new one in this is the Swarmer Missile, which is basically the reticle but much easier to use. Throughout each level, you'll also find some teleports that will take you to mini-games. If you complete them, you'll be rewarded with either extra lives, extra characters, or bonus levels for deathmatch modes. When you destroy your opponents, you can also pick up upgrades, which can increase the capacity of your turbo and energy, increase your guns for machine guns. Yeah, they were in black, but for some reason I forgot to talk about them. Some extra ram damage, and an upgraded special weapon, and upgraded health, extra jump height, and pretty much further upgrades that you collect basically just give you extra weapons. These abilities end up making an already easy entry into what I would argue is the easiest Twisted Metal game in the series, to the point where I rarely die in this game, and I would argue that this game just holds your hand all the way through. While I would personally like this to be a little more challenging, because even Small Brawl had some challenge, I at least would say that this makes this a decent entry for beginners to get into and see if it's worth taking a look at the franchise. And hey, for what it is, this is still a fun little car combat game, and for portable play, this is awesome. If there's one thing I have to critique to this game, it's that the damage is really insane. The battles go by really quickly. Like, I am steamrolling this game before I'm even fully upgraded. The boss fights in this game are pretty cool, though. During the middle of the tournament, you come face to face with Cousin Eddie, and he first sizes you up by summoning 4 ATVs that you have to destroy, which isn't too hard to do as the ATV stats are ass. Then you have to take out all the hillbillies to destroy his shield, a la Minion from Black, and once that's done, you can finally destroy him. Once you're at the end of the tournament, you come face to face with Darktooth, who's a lot easier to go around. Like, you can just straight up pelt him with missiles and he will fucking die. But he's not the final boss. Once you beat Darktooth, you have to face Towertooth, and this guy is badass. He's a gigantic freak that will destroy you if you're not careful, and is a perfect conclusion. As if you play your cards right, he's not too hard. Once you beat the game 4 times in the tournament mode, you can even unlock him for regular play, but it's only on the Coliseum, which makes sense that this guy is not designed for regular play at all. Once that's done, you got yourself some multiplayer to play as always. All in all, it's a worthy sequel to Twisted Metal 2. Normally, this is where I'd give my score, but I'm not fully done here, as I still got Twisted Metal Lost to discuss in the same package. Twisted Metal Lost is a collection of 4 levels that were completed for Twisted Metal Harbor City before that game was scrapped. When this game came out, this was my first look into the idea of cut content, and being able to see what could have been was honestly pretty cool. At least these levels didn't go to waste. Our levels here are Suburban Slaughter, a Demolition Derby Arena, a Carnival, and a series of ships. This game features the roster from Twisted Metal Black, alongside 12-pack and Gold Tooth as bonuses, albeit with very silly what-if scenarios for why they're here, as they assume that Calypso granted everyone's wish. Some of these are extremely corny, like a whole-ass army of John Does to bring down Calypso, or Black coming from an alternate timeline so Calypso can bring down Black's Calypso. The gameplay is the same as Black, but I swear the motion inputs don't work as well in Lost, and the shields never come out when I want them to. But as this is a beta build, I can forgive it. All in all, for the overall package of Twisted Metal Head-On Extra Twisted Edition, this game earns a 9 out of 10. One more thing, though. When you beat Lost on Hard, you get a letter from the not actually deceased team members to watch the Dark Past documentary, telling you to look at the trees in Paris for a glimpse of the future. If you freeze frame at a specific time, you'll see a series of numbers. When you translate them, it reads, Twisted Metal is coming to PS3. Oh shit! We're gonna see a PS3 Twisted Metal. Now that'll be one hell of a next-gen upgrade. It may have taken a little while, but eventually on Valentine's Day 2012, Twisted Metal did in fact come to PS3. To see how that turned out, tune in next time, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. on the Robotic. If you like watching my content, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to, donate to my Patreon. I need to play some WWE Champions, okay?
You can have your stupid frog back. Little Tear's been making so much noise, I can't even go inside.
Technically, such exuberance is common following radiation.
Radiation?
On second thought, you can keep the frog. Victory! Victory!